to you, wherever you are. Last week, I had to ask Galera, of course. Okay, she said, okay, next week is Sallah. And I'm like, wait, is that the meat-eating Sallah? That, I'm sorry, that is usually the one that many people are interested in. So when you hear Barka the Sallah, the next thing is, where is my ram, my meat or something? It's not everyone, so calm down. But so, still talking about the ram, in the course of the week, we found out that the flooding that happened in Benue, the bigger part, Niger State, Mokwa to be precise, affected the prices of some of those rams or whatever else a good number of people had to use. And conversations happened between dealers and transporters, and a good number of those issues is like, look, Mokwa is a transit route between the north and the south and wherever else some of these things are coming from. And consequently, if you experienced a little bit of a high, if you had to pay a little higher or a little more than you ought to have paid, well, it's sincerely because of that flooding that the people are still recovering from. So that's why I asked that we all spare a thought. I ask that we spare a thought for our fellow Nigerians in that axis, particularly those that have been affected. I saw a video on in the course of the week. In fact, Channels Television covered that elaborately yesterday, that the people of Mokwa, in very large numbers, trooped out to pray. I'm talking about the Muslim faithful in particular. They very large numbers trooped out to pray, you know, all together, and it was really heartwarming to see that. There's no way God will not hear that kind of prayer. So that's just so for you to know. And to some other issues now, largely about infrastructure. We also, of course, know that the president is in town, perhaps to observe the Sallah, among other things. And of course, which also informed him being at some events to commission the access road to the Lekki Deep Sea Port. One wonders if that is the reason that part of the commissioned coastal road wasn't open to road users. As at Monday, it was, but then subsequently some people were denied access. Is it because that the president was coming there or what? Let me hope that since the president has gone there and come back, all of that is sorted and people can now use it. Otherwise, at least let us know if the roads are now accessible for the use of Nigerians or not. And by the way, there is that word out there that, hey, wait a minute, the deputy governor of Lagos State was at that commissioning and the president acknowledged him, but the governor was not there. Could there be a reason? It's just questions that are being asked. Let's hope that somebody will speak to that. I'm still talking about infrastructure. In Lagos in particular, there is this road that is being constructed, this bridge that is being constructed by the Lagos State government. That's the Okwebi-Ojota Road. One of the things that a good number of people would have experienced, particularly in the evenings, coming from Maryland and trying to use the Okwebi Link Road into Okwebi and on, you find that there is always a huge traffic backlog between Sheraton and the bridge. The reason is perhaps because that road is not being completed, and consequently things are not happening the way they should be happening. It would be good if we would know at least, dear Lagos State government, what is going on, at least give information. It's the same thing that I always say. When we do not communicate with the people, we leave room for a lot of guesswork, that people will be wondering, okay, so what's the issue? What's going on here? What do we do now? What are the things that we're to expect and all of that? So please, dear Lagos State government, we await all of that conversation. Now to the line up the menu for this morning. The first conversation we'll be having is on food security, driving food security. That's our first conversation this morning, particularly in the light of all that's been happening. And then it's Eid-el-Adha. Find out a little more about it later on in our conversation this morning. We also hear of reforms in the rail sector. What is all that about? Well, of course, you will also find out all of that. Then, lifestyle today, a good number of parents are having challenges with their children that they don't even understand. You heard a bit of that last week when we had that conversation. But today we want to talk about how you prepare teens, your teenagers, for their lives ahead, for the real life, for adulthood. You heard them say, adulthood na scam. Is it? Or is it one that was not prepared for? Well, all of that you'll find out when we get to lifestyle. And our artist of the week. Let me just say that the artist of the week is a human being. More of that when we resume. By the way, before we return, I hope you've had your cup of cocoa, or is it cocoa that you prefer? One counsel that I will give you today, do your best to hydrate. I'll do a bit of that, and we'll return after this break.
Happy Eid-el-Kabir from Channels Television.
Well, thank you so much for staying with us. Let's talk about how we can drive food security in our country. The challenges faced by farmers in the north, who account for most of what Nigeria eats, are affecting food prices and availability in the booming coastal south that's home to the mega city of Lagos. More than 80% of Nigeria's farmers are smallholder farmers, who account for 90% of the country's annual agricultural production. Farmers are facing low yields because there are those who believe that it's because government has failed to provide infrastructure and other things to mitigate the effects of climate change. An instance is that the prices of food stuff and some other perishables they suddenly soared in the aftermath of the collapse of the Mokwa bridge in Niger State, which left hundreds of trucks conveying food items trapped. Could that have been avoided? Is that something for the agricultural industry or ecosystem to look at, or some collaboration that is missing somewhere? We have conversations around that this morning with Dr. Debo Akonde, who is joining us virtually. He's an agribusiness development specialist, director at International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, and he's also DG, Oyo State Agribusiness Development Agency. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, we also have with us Dr. Kabir Yusuf, who is the National Project Coordinator, the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones Project, SAPZ. He also joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us this morning, Dr. Yusuf.
Thank you very much for having me.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, let me begin with you, Dr. Kabir. You are up north now, so you'll probably be able to, this will probably resonate with you a little more. The effect of climate change on the agricultural value chain, particularly the logistics. Taking the instance of what happened in Mokwa in Niger State, which is, of course, in the north. So, Dr. Yusuf, help us understand, what is it that you think Nigerians need to understand about what happened and if we could have mitigated it?
Thank you very much. So the effect of climate change is actually real. This is what we're all coming to terms with, which is why the whole mantra of climate change, which is mitigation and adaptation, has been sung for a long time. Now, what just happened in Makwa just shows us the reality of our lives. Climate change is here to stay, and unfortunately, with climate change, this emissions really is not a geographical centric activity, which means if there's emission in China, the effect can still be in Africa. So it's indifferent of emissions per location. However, with every disaster, it can be turned into opportunity. With the situation of flood in Mokwa, this also brings us to the realization that we need to have climate resilient infrastructure, which is what government is trying to now establish in Mokwa. As you're aware, the president provided 2 billion for infrastructure now in Mokwa. Now you would see the infrastructure that would be constructed would be climate resilient with perhaps much more flexible flood systems around. Now, still, with regards to agriculture, currently we have flooding in Mokwa. But after this flooding, this would create a very, very good platform for bumper harvest during the dry season because of the residual moisture in the soil. Now, the same flood water would have created ponds that can be transformed into aquaculture with the right entrepreneurship skills. This would be an increased employment and employability sector for the youth and the community there.
Well, there's a lot packed in there. The question a number of people will be asking is how soon before we start to get all of that, because right now, the farmers, particularly in Mokwa, they are not smiling. And the people whose goods have been stuck in that area also are not smiling. Dr. Agode, I wonder what your own issues are. You are an agribusiness champion. And so one would wonder, first of all, what comes to mind for you when you think about the effect of climate change on food security in our country and what we ought to do if we are not doing it? And if we are doing it, are we doing it the way, at the scale that we ought to? Particularly given the fact that a good chunk of what we consume in Nigeria is produced in the north and transported down south.
Thank you very much for that question. Again, I think I will agree with Dr. Kabir that climate change is a reality that we all have to accept and live with. It is critical, to our agricultural sector. I am only a bit concerned that at this stage of our life as a country, we are being met unaware by some of these climate change issues. I know that as far back as 2007, I had worked on climate change awareness program in Nigeria, working with the British government. And quite a lot that has been done between then and now in terms of designing the national strategy that relates to climate change mitigation and adaptation within the country. For me, I think we just need to take this more seriously, to accept that climate change is completely part of our agricultural sector and not look at it as a standalone or as an adult. I've had now, with the response from Dr. Kabiru, that the government is doing something precisely to mitigate against the problem in Mokwa. But what I would have loved to see is that this will make us to now design a strategy for the country, not just for Mokwa. For me, when you see issues, you start looking at a bigger picture and start examining whether similar issues can happen in other states across the country. And then you now start designing a proper, a well thought out, thorough mitigation plan and provide resources for that to happen. Again, this speaks to how we see agriculture in this part of the world, that our agriculture is still very rudimentary in the approach that we adopt. I have always been saying that there is nothing like agricultural transformation without rural infrastructural transformations. If you neglect the rural infrastructure, you will not expect rocket science in terms of agriculture. And this is one of the things that has happened with the issue of the climate change. If we understand the infrastructure that is related to the climate change and agriculture, by now we as a nation shall rise up to the occasion to concentrate on our energy and our resources towards those kind of infrastructure. That would be my thought at this particular point in time. Yes, government has started doing something, but for me, I think we can do much more. We need to do much more of an holistic approach, that we adopt, across the whole of the country. Because similar thing that happened in Makwa can happen in other states. Like what is the plan? What are we planning? What have we put in place to ensure that we mitigate against this incident in other areas as well, while we are developing this particular structure towards mitigating.
Well, thank you, Dr. Akane. At the end of the day, you just talked about the fact that agriculture is largely rudimentary. It leads to questions about the people who are, in the face of this agriculture. Well, we have a farmer among us. Jerry Toby is with us this morning. He's operations team lead at Jet Farms and Agro Solutions Limited. He also joins us virtually. Thank you for joining us, Mr. Toby. You're a farmer.
Okay.
And
yes, sir.
So when you heard and consider the impact of the flooding in Mokwa on the farmers there who have lost a lot of investments right now, how does it make you feel?
Well, I'll tell you, when I had the situation on May 29th, actually very, very saddening situation, because I imagine losing such amount of farm operations, farmland, quite a lot. I spoke with one farmer there, and he actually told me how critical this situation was, that he couldn't even pick a dime. He has invested inputs, he has invested seed, he has invested time and resources, and it's actually saddening. And it's so painful that this is happening. There wasn't any early sign warning, there wasn't any preventive measure that was made known by the extension agent. There wasn't preventive measure made by even the state government ahead of this situation. But it's actually very saddening at this moment. And as a farmer, it's always very hard for us to pick up. This is not just a single face out. If a situation happens, a farmer is always investing his whole total life, his whole total being, his whole total profit he has made from last year, his whole seed, believing that when he is going to harvest, he's going to actually take care of his family, his this thing. So when a farmer loses a farmland, he's losing school fees of children, he's losing livelihood, he's losing a lot, and it's actually very painful. And as a young farmer, I'm telling you, it's actually painful. It's a painful period, and I'm creating a shout out to guys out there that actually lost all this thing. Please take heart. I think from what Mr. Kabir said, the government is actually trying to get to support people around this area. It's actually a very painful situation.
But let me stick with you for a second. So when you said that the farmers didn't get a heads up, they didn't get any information ahead, they weren't prepared for it at all. Does that mean, because the government knew since late last year, 2024, that we're going to have massive rainfall this year. So when you say that there was no preparation for this flooding by the extension services, what's the impact of that? Would you say that, because, okay, maybe I should ask it this way. When you say they didn't get the heads up, they didn't prepare for it, what should have been done? What could government have done to prevent the losses that farmers are now experiencing?
Yes, so thank you very much for that amazing question. One thing for me at our own end is, for me, I believe that government is an all-encompassing thing, especially the State Ministry of Agriculture, which is particularly in Niger State. What they should have done, basically should have done awareness, creating awareness among the farmers, creating awareness among AFAN, that's the All Africa, Association of Farmers from Nigeria. Should have created awareness among that community, telling the extension agent to go and speak to guys, don't farm around this area, don't do stuff around this area. If the flood is going to come, you are going to be prone to it, you're going to get affected. Information should have been passed. Yes, we know that NIMED said there will be a lot of flooding and a lot of stuff around it. But beyond just telling us, you also need to create a structure around where these guys should go and do. You told us, okay, in a point A to point B, you are telling us don't farm in this area. Are you trying to create another place? Are you trying to develop another land in another place where we can actually go and farm? Because this is our life. This is how we live. This is what we do to live, to feed our family, to feed the nation. This is where the nation depends on us. Actually, I'll be honest with you, most of the beans you eat come from Mokwa. Very good yams from Niger State come from Mokwa. Some rice and a number of stuff come from Mokwa. And if you're trying to tell us not to farm, well, that means you're trying to tell us that the nation might actually suffer from another high food prices again, telling us that the farmer, and it's going to cost another reason for government importing rice. So it's one of the things that I think the government should have done through the extension agent, that they should have critically gone out, inform these guys, create another plan B for them and tell them that go ahead and go and farm in this place. Don't farm particularly in this way. And that's the work of the government. The farmers might not know that. The farmers might not have that best information of where to go and do. They cannot just go and leave that area, but except the government give them the go ahead and also prepare them ahead for it.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toby. Well, Dr. Konde, you work with the Oyo State government. Do you think it's as easy as Mr. Toby, the farmer, just said?
Well, it is not as easy as that. Even though I recognize, his pain, and I do understand what it means when you invest, whether in agriculture or in any other area, and you see your investment being drawing away in your presence. It's painful for any person. I think this is much more structural, and I consistently have said, where I've had opportunity, that we should stop looking at the peripherals as a nation, as states, in this country, and start looking at the fundamentals, the structural issues of agriculture, and then look at how best as a nation we can channel our resources towards overcoming all the structural problems. And what do I mean by that? Climate change is not something that just happens just suddenly. It's something that happens with a pointer, as to what action could be taken. The same issue that we experience here in Nigeria is not peculiar to us. This has been experienced by many other countries in the world as well. What did they do? What have they done? Why has it not affected them? In some countries, as much as it's affecting us, it has affected us, at Mokwa. The point remains that how much of our energy are we channeling towards all these structural areas and structural issues? We need to look at agriculture more holistically than the past time.
I beg your pardon, Dr. Akonde. When you say structural issues, what are those structural issues? For instance, one major thing and critical, and I'm sure you would agree, is the extension services. So when you say structural issues, what are these structural issues if the farmers didn't really know that, okay, this thing is gonna, because if they knew it was gonna affect them that significantly, I doubt if they would want to invest their resources with such high risk.
So these are fundamental in agricultural disputes. All these structural issues that I mentioned. You have the structural issue that has to do with access to information, access to market, access to technology, access to road, access to infrastructure, energy. You are making reference to issue of community aggregation center that could be developed. I mean, quite a lot of them are there. Infrastructure-wise as well. I believe one of the major reasons why we have this impact, of these climate change is the kind of infrastructure that is available at Mokwa, at this particular point in time that is already weakened. So government needs to focus on these areas, and I will speak to Oyo State since you mentioned my role in Oyo State, that for the first 4 years of the government of His Excellency Seyi Makinde, what we did was to channel the little resources that we have to start mitigating against rural infrastructural deficits, that we have in the state. We recognize, that those deficits were there. We recognize that they will impact negatively on our farm sector, on our agriculture, and we started mitigating against that. So you see that quite massively resources were deployed towards rural roads, across the whole of the state, where we know that our agricultural produce are coming from. Beyond that, we are extending that rural road to over 1,200 kilometers of feeder roads now. In the whole of the state, this has commenced. These are not the things that I would say will happen. It's already happening. Beyond that, within the diverse communities, where we have targeted the high production of crops, we are building what we refer to as agri-logistics centers there. What that does is that it helps the farmer to be able to at least, aggregate and store their product in a place where if you have heavy rain, if you have drought or whatever, your product will be secure. I've had arguments around people talking about silos being built across the whole of the country. And my submission remains to be that it remains to be a garbage in and garbage out. If you don't have somewhere where farmers can keep their product off farm, immediately, what then are they going to bring to town? Reason where we are having close to 20 to 40% post-harvest loss. Niger State, where this happened, is as the landmass that is equal to that of Netherlands. So the farmers are not necessarily supposed. I mean, of course, it's essential because it's their community, it's their area. But like has been said earlier, if we have had that information from NIMET, and we know that this is going to be happening, a special initiative could have been developed to reallocate the farmers within this farming season to plant somewhere else, and where that infrastructure will be well developed. The information has been given, so NIMET is there. And that thing that I will also mention is that making use of government agencies properly. We have Nigerian Insurance Corporation, is it corporation or agency? That has Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation that has the responsibility of insuring agricultural products. I have worked with them. I have insured one of the agricultural industrial hubs in the state. They insured it. I mean, I haven't had any climate change precise damages, that will make me to go back to them. But I ensure that those farms were insured. This could be extended beyond just having insurance security in the hub to that of the farmers across the whole of the countries as well. I think these are critical things that we need to be looking into rather than we do a fair, treatment of these significant issues across the whole of the country. All right,
thank you. Dr. Kabir, this is also, in your purview, and I'm sure some of the issues resonate with you. The challenge, and I think we've had this conversation previously, is about the role of states. And I know that yours is largely coordinatory in scope, but it goes back to exactly how do we dissipate national initiatives, national information to the states and to the localities so that we do not suffer the kind of fate we're having to deal with right now?
Thank you very much. So first of all, I want to bring us back to the realization that government cannot be the largest employer of labor. That's very, very important. Now, when I say labor, this means that government cannot itself produce for its people, which means there needs to be private sector centric. And this is what this government has done to ensure sustainability in all the activities, specifically with the agriculture, which you can see in the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone program, which I coordinate. It is government-enabled, private sector-led industrial model that establishes designated zones for modern agro-processing and production clusters. And these zones are designed to provide a conducive environment, policy, where agribusiness can operate efficiently, leveraging on these shared infrastructure, which are climate adaptable, services, just to ensure that operational cost is being reduced, climate change and other financial ambiguities have been de-risked, and we also attract private sector investment. So what do I mean by this? NIMET, I'm happy that our brother has already mentioned the farmer. NIMET has already notified state governments. NIMET has notified publicly. Just last 2 weeks, we signed an MOU with NIMET. And why did we do that? This also brings me back to government cannot be the largest employer of labor. Government cannot do everything itself. Now, there's so little resources and so much to do. Now, we have about 250 million plus citizens in this country. It's not easy reaching each and every one. And this is why we need the private sector. For SAPZ, our NIMET MOU centers around expanding NIMET information, climate weather stations, specifically to agro clusters that are not within the current NIMET catchment area, but are within the SAPZ catchment areas. This means that our farmers will get real-time information. But for ours now, you also need to remember the fact that there is a literacy rate issue in our country. So what we did is to, as government, is to ensure that these weather informations are done with smart devices that are audible in different languages that these farmers can understand. And I'm happy that Dr. Debo bring to the fore the issue of NAIC. So NAIC, other than other climate insurance agencies, insures farmlands not just 100%, but government has already incentivized it to 50%, which means it's less costly than any insurance agency that you're going to go to. So this is very, very key. And I'm sure the states have done a lot to ensure that these farmers are insured. These farmers have the knowledge, but there's so little government can do. And this is why the adoption of government-enabled private sector-led agriculture is being conducted as a national policy.
Well, two things I'd like you to quickly speak to, Dr. Yusuf. Number one, you talked about the NAIC, the Agriculture Insurance Corporation. When you say that the state governments have done a lot, does it include insuring the farmers with the Agricultural Insurance Corporation? That's one, because right now, as you know, Mr. Toby has spoken to, I don't know, I'm not sure that the farmers they have any idea what they're going to do going forward. The second thing I'd like you to speak to, still talking about the effect of climate change. You spoke to the fact that the special agro-industrial processing zones they are climate change sensitive or whatever. Please explain. Are they also vulnerable or susceptible to flooding? If so, are there barricades? Are there things that have been done to ensure that the losses are not as bad as the one we're experiencing right now?
Yes, thank you. So I wouldn't presume or would like to speak on behalf of the state government, but what I know, being with decades of experience in the sector, agricultural sector, is that this information is being disseminated as well to state governments, and I've seen a couple of state governments disseminating this information through their ADPs, which are extension workers. Now, however, we also need to understand insurance is not an easy thing. There needs to be a behavioral change at all levels. It's not easy to expect your layman farmer to go and give his hard-earned money for it to be secured in the event that a disaster happens. And in the event that a disaster does not happen, nothing comes back to it. So yes, a state government could have gone to notify the farmers, send extension workers, in fact, even register the farmers. But what is the propensity that most of these farmers will agree to go and insure their farmlands? So you see, that's a question of a behavioral activity which perhaps is left for the farmers, and also more orientation. Because I think we cannot overemphasize orientation. So perhaps with this, more farmers would be willing to insure, as they have seen, they might see the gains with some of their neighbors that have already insured their farmlands. Now, with regard to the SAPZ, agriculture in itself currently is not organized as it should be. Dr. Debo did mention Netherlands. You see, Netherlands is 22 times smaller than Nigeria. But it would surprise you that Netherlands earns about 165 billion euros annually from agricultural export, not just its own internal use. This means that for us to reach that level, we need to organize agriculture from a way of life to a profit-making business. And that's what we've done at the SAPZ. Not that we're climate-proof or we're not susceptible to climate change, but we have put in several mitigations along the way. Now, what we have in SAPZ in each of our participating states is a two-model system of an agricultural transformation center and an agricultural industrial hub. These transformation centers are where we cluster these farmers. We support them with good agronomic and climate smart practices to boost their production. Don't forget, we ensure that these farmers are insured, specifically with NAIC being a government agency. We ensure that there are weather stations, which is why I mentioned the MOU we just signed with NIMET to ensure that reach audible weather stations for these farmers to know when to plant. We also have extension agents that are standby over there. But importantly, post-harvest loss. And the issue of MAQUA, what we have just seen is disruption of the market, whereby commodities such as ram, yam, and other things have increased in prices. Now, when you have an organized system whereby you have a proper aggregation, you would not see that. So what we have in an SAPZ is an aggregation system through a binding agreement. Currently in Nigeria, our farmers plant, not knowing where their market is going to be. Unlike other sectors, in the oil and gas, when you're producing your oil, you know your market. You've signed an agreement. In the power sector, there's what we call the power purchase agreement. By the time you're producing power, there's already a buyer of that power. So that's what we've done in SAPZ, and we've done a pilot here in Kano, and we're also now doing scale up across the SAPZ states. For all our farmers, they have an MOU with off-takers. For whatever we produce in SAPZ is meant to be processed, because our main goal is to ensure that whatever we produce is processed and domesticated in country to market shelf finished goods, so that we can reduce the amount of import of processed agro materials, agro commodities, shifting away from a net importer to becoming a net exporter. So coming back with what we do and how that helps us with regards to effects of climate change, basically is adaptation to climate change. It is here to stay. We cannot change it, but we can definitely adapt, which is first, we ensure our farmers, we ensure the increased yield with the good agronomic and climate smart practices we support them with. There's always an extension agent, but importantly, that agreement. There's always a takeoff agreement that has a lot of caveats that safeguard these farmers from a lot of force majeure. And now when you have that, don't forget, we do both wet and dry season. During that, you would have a lot of commodities already being aggregated. So if one arm or one section is being disrupted, you would see then, which means there is enough storage for the market not to be disrupted.
Okay.
Now, another thing, there was a mention of silos. As government, yes, we do have silos to support, but keeping too much food in silos, it's not efficiency. What we want to see as government, what government is propelling, is processing of whatever we produce to finished goods. Now, agricultural commodities are not just for consumption. There's a lot of economic byproducts. So by the time you process these commodities, you would get, take for instance, cassava. You have ethanol out of it and a lot of biofuels that come out of it. So whatever we produce, we want to ensure that it's processed to finished goods. We don't, yes, as good as it is, we had the granite pyramids of the 80s, but that's not what we're trying to replicate now. When you go to developed countries, you don't see granite pyramids. You see working industries, employers of labor. We say agriculture is the largest employer of labor. Now, imagine if we have successfully industrialized our agriculture. From the SAPZ, it has been assessed that each participating state that has an SAPZ would employ about 500,000 youth and women gainfully employed. So this is what we want to see. And I think I've done a bit of justice as to what we do to adapt to climate change as government in the special agro-industrial processing zones?
Well, there are those who will tell you straight up, Dr. Yusuf, that climate change is just one of the many challenges in agriculture. But let me come back to Mr. Toby. Well, I don't know if you've been aware of this whole agricultural insurance initiative. If you are, how many farmers would you say are aware of it? If you make any recommendations now, and there's an issue that Dr. Yusuf also raised, which is no farmer has the courage, well, not many farmers have the courage to take their hard-earned money and put it in the hands of an insurer, an insurance organization, just to, in case of the unexpected, as we say. Can you speak to any of those?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'll be honest with you. It's actually saddening that we have to go this route again all this year round. It has actually happened, I think it happened in 2022, if I'm not right, with the flooding that happened in the Nasarawa state, where the area lost a number of yield, a number of farmland, very large hectares of farmland. Talking about insurance, you know, it's actually interesting to hear that NAIC still exists. But yes, I know NAIC exists around 2019, 2020. I actually did some work with them. We actually invited them to come and went to insure whatever we're doing. We went to insure our investment. We actually received some funds from investors, and investors instructed us that, oh, before you can do this 100 hectares of maize, we have to actually put in insurance. So we invited like 3 insurance organizations. So we shared the insurance. Leadway, we had NAIC, and we had some other distance, because we're actually not even sure if there's an eventuality. Maybe there'll be that there'll be that trust of receiving our money back from maybe the government organization. But basically, we need to.
Oh dear. Well, I believe that we'll get you back. But Dr. Akonde, the indication there is that as information was going out about the likelihood of the challenge of, oh, okay, Mr. Toby, I understand you're back. Please go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so as I was saying, I say farmers are not informed. Basically, because farmers are always bold enough to go out and find out information. I don't know if you can hear me.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Confirm you can hear me?
We can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay, so farmers are actually wanting out to get this information. Let me say something quickly. There is something called the ADPs. Those are the structures Mr. Akonde did not talk about, the ADPs. The ADPs are very important agency of the government, where they are working with in the local government, in the rural district, to go out and pass this information, gather these farmers. But actually, I'll be honest with you, go and check a number of ADPs. Their offices are dilapidated. They don't even have an office. You go to the local government, you don't see ADP officers, which is supposed to be strengthened. One thing we are encouraging the government, because those ADP are the closest to the farmer, they're going to pass this information about the NAIC, that's going to pass the information about any government opportunities, any means or any awareness, passing the message of NIMET down to the farmer. So if a farmer is aware that there is a NAIC and there is an insurance for every crop I do, insurance is not expensive, as Mr. Kabir is saying. Insurance is not expensive, because I'm looking at it. A farmer that is investing over 2 million naira on a crop, on a farmland, is not hard for him to do 2% of that, 2 to 3% of what he's doing. So I don't think it's hard. It's about the way we pass the message to the farmer. I actually believe that if a farmer understands that if he can dedicate 2 to 3% of his money for insurance to avoid any eventualities, he's actually going to do that. But one case that we understand is that this information is not even actually passed across to these farmers. These informations are not, farmers are not aware, especially the rural farmers. So I believe it's a message down to NAIC, it's a message down to the National Orientation Agency, it's a message down to farmer governors like Farmer Bago, to ensure that farmers are well orientated about input, because it's not just about even insurance alone. Input, the kind of seedlings we use, the kind of fertilizer we use, the kind of post-harvest losses issues around SAPZ. I'll be honest with you, it's around maybe people that are well educated, but even know about SAPZ. So it's one important thing that the information must trickle down to that rural farmer in Mokwa, to that rural farmer in Kebbi, that rural farmer in Doma, that rural farmer in Jere, in Kaduna. So that's what I have to say about it.
Well, Dr. Akonde, I'm pretty sure you have a response to that, but in addition, let's talk some solutions. This whole conversation is about food security in the country, and Dr. Akonde has spoken to SAPZ and what the federal government is doing, and of course, that's just one of several initiatives of the federal government. One of them, for instance, is the National Growth Scheme and Agro Pocket, which is supported by the AFDB. Now, talking about food security specifically, Dr. Akonde, what are the gaps as a country? You are in the agribusiness development field. What are the gaps we must fill? And for how long do you think these gaps must be filled sustainably in order for Nigeria to attain food security 100%?
Thank you very much. Well, I think one of the first things that we need to be looking at, we've been very fixated, with our smallholding subsistence agricultural system for a very long period of time. And I'm not saying that there is anything wrong in the smallholding subsistence agriculture. I'm saying that at this particular point in our life as a nation, we need to start thinking about the other systems that are applicable in the agricultural sector as it is anywhere in the world. If you go to Brazil, to the US, the Netherlands, what we call smallholding here will not even be referred to as micro in their countries. So when they say smallholding, the question what smallholding is those countries where the agricultural output has been great. This is where we find ourselves, but we also now need to start thinking around other actors in agriculture. And I'm very happy to see the other panelist, young man, talking about agriculture. Being the person that you invited to speak about agriculture. Yes, the smallholders are there, but we need to start thinking about creating a system for the medium and large farmers in Nigeria. We need to start looking at how to develop initiative for younger people to engage in agriculture. I will give you an example of what has happened in nations in the world. Between 1950 and 1997, 2000 thereabout, the American government, did something that they call the consolidation agriculture. And what the consolidation agriculture means is that they put in a structure and system in place to ensure that their farms now start becoming the numbers of farmers reduce, or the size of the farms increase. So within that period, you will find that the size of American farms American farmers reduced from around 5 billion to less than 2 million, reduced. While the size of their land increased from 215 acres to around 487 or 500 acres thereabout. And that was the golden age of agriculture in America. Similar thing is applicable in Brazil and other places. Now, we need to start focusing on that. Let's be honest with ourselves. The system that was feeding us when we were 50 million, 70 million cannot be the same system that is going to feed us when we are now over 250 billion. And not just 250 million, that we are also engaging in using agricultural produce for some other conventionaries and what have you. If you look at the time that we also have a glorious years of agriculture in this country, not very well. We were engaging in a lot of plantations. That was when you will have plantations of cocoa, plantations of palm oil and groundnut, and that is complementing what smallholder farmers were doing. We stopped that, of course, because we got oil. And even when we were doing that plantation in those golden years, there was a little bit of an error that we made. Our plantations were focused much more on crops that were handled forests. We weren't developing plantation system for the food that we will be consuming. and one of the things that has affected the kind of food systems that we are adopting now. Let's be honest with ourselves. And I will use Oyo State as an example. Oyo State sits on a landmass that is around 28,000 square kilometers of land, massive land, meaning that if you combine the whole of the southeast of Nigeria states, 5 states together, it's not as big as Oyo State. So you can imagine how big that is. Oyo State is like countries in Africa in terms of landmass. Now, we said that what we have seen in statistics and data is that up to the period of time before this government took over, we had not done up to 10%. Maybe we have moved to around 14, 15% now, as a state because of the diverse approaches that we have adopted. And that 10%, if I need to move it to 20%, I would need close to around another 3.7 million smallholder farmers with the average land size that the smallholder farmers have in this country. Is that sustainable? Is that realistic? It means that if I have to do close to around 50% of the 70% arable land in this state, I'll probably need to close to around 7 million. What is the population of our state? So we need to start, focusing on areas, some other areas that is going to be complementary to what we currently have. In addition to that, quickly, I will mention that we also need to start, again, as I mentioned earlier, ensure that we are not just looking at agriculture as just cutlasses and hoe, you throw it in the soil, it grows. It is much more fundamental than that. You need to look at infrastructure. You need to look at the ideas that has been spoken about in terms of engaging in a very robust information system. I will quickly speak to what was mentioned by the farmer about the extension agency, the ADP. We all know that the ADP that we currently have in the country now is not as functional as it were in the days when the World Bank were pumping funds into it. And I dare to question a lot, that is this the same kind of an extension system that is being adopted in the nations where we have food productivity and production, en mass? Is that what they are doing in Brazil? Is that what they are doing in the US? Is that what they are doing in some other countries in Africa, like South Africa? I think, yes, again, we find ourselves in that, we're doing that, but we need to also look at complementary approaches, that will complement what they are doing. E-extension is there, private sector extension is there, and I like what was mentioned by Dr. Kabir. For me, I think my own submission would be that let every state expand on their SAPZ in almost all the regions in their state. You have a central one that is called the Agricultural Industrial Hub. Then have the agricultural transformation centers in each of the region of your state, which is what we are adopting in Oyo State. And those centers will now act as the means, of information, of support for smallholder farmers, of the industrialization of their agricultural sector, in the different states. Let government channel their resources towards the right area rather than doing the referrals.
All right. Dr. Yusuf, I believe that, that is a little bit of that is for you. You may want to speak to it as we close. But add to that, that little information, or rather that little hint Dr. Akonde gave about encouraging younger farmers into the fold, particularly this SAPZ that you spoke to.
Thank you very much. So starting from what Dr. Akande spoke about, which is what we have been campaigning, governments to put in their resources in their SAPZs. Now, it's not like SAPZ is the only means for agriculture, but just as what he also said with consolidation of agriculture, this is what the United States did. So, and going back to what I said is, we need to organize agriculture. It needs to shift from a way of life to a profit-making business. That is the only way we can attain food security. That is the only way our farmers can improve their livelihood, get enough out of agriculture, and also to invest in their livelihood. If you go to the United States, the richest people are the farmers. How do we become such? How do we transition to such? We have to organize our agriculture, no doubt. Now, coming back to also what Dr. Akande said about government expanding and investing in their zones. What we do under the SAP is that this is a federal government fund loan onboarded to states. These loans are gotten from a variety of MDBs, but also there's an issue of counterpart fund matching grant, and specifically not because Dr. Debo is here, We got a notification from their government that they are going to build their transformation center with government money. That is the kind of commitment that we want. Now, this transformation center is the basic foundation for production. This is where you get your climate information. This is where extension agents are there supporting farmers with climate smart agricultural practices. This is where you reduce your post-harvest loss with primary processing and proper aggregation. This is where you signed these off-taker agreements. Now, with these off-taker agreements, your farmers are assured of market. They're assured that there's a profit coming back to them. And don't forget, with these off-taker agreements, this means that whatever the farmer is going to get is based on prevailing market price. So you don't have an issue of farmer being shortchanged or cheated. Basically, this is really safeguarding the farmer. So basically, this is what I had to say. I think you made mention of something, but I cannot recall. If you can please just
encouraging younger folks, younger farmers into the fold.
Okay, wonderful. So I mean, this is a very good topic you brought up, and this also brings us back to industrializing your agriculture. You do not expect a young person that has a degree to go and hold a cutlass and hoe and farming in the farmland. No, of course not. But if you now mechanize your agriculture, if you provide them with access to finance and the right entrepreneurship skills, you would see young farmers. And that's what we're doing under SAPZ, right? Under the Rural Institution Development component of our program. We're providing access to finance to young farmers, not gratis, because we've understood that anything that is freebies, people don't put the right effort. No, these are loans. These are cheap, affordable, and accessible loans that you can get through the SAPZ. And once you get these loans, you can now organize yourself, which we now support free with such entrepreneurship trainings, whereby you can get tractors and you can lease in these farmlands. So these are some of the innovative activities that we do in the SAPZ to ensure that young people come into farming. There's also the aggregation part. Now, it's not hard labor. All you need to do is to ensure that from our industrial hub, you sign with a processor and you come back to our transformation center, you sign with a cluster of farmers using their farmer organizations. Now, it's very good. I bring this to bear is we don't really deal with farmers directly. We deal with them collectively. This is part of the consolidation agenda.
Okay.
Where they're grouped into farmer organizations, and these off-taker agreements are now signed. So young people are actively participating in that, whereby they now act as the middlemen to aggregate and also to sell. So the truth is, right, what this administration is doing is slowly transition our subsistence agriculture to modern agriculture. As we know, our president is for sustainability.
My sincere apologies, Dr. Yusuf. We're totally out of time, but I have to take the final comments of Mr. Toby just in 30 to 60 seconds. And I'd like you to close by asking, or rather speaking to younger people, you know, about getting into agriculture, because the most of the farmers who are in agriculture now, the older ones, in another 20, 30 years, they are no longer there.
Yeah, thank you very much. To all my young guys out there thinking to come into agriculture, agriculture is taking a new space. We are the one that will fill this globe. There's actually money you can make money in it. If you don't go into farming, you can go into processing. If you don't go into processing, you can go into service rendering. Believe that agriculture can make you the next billionaire. It can make you the next rich man. It can actually make you the next greatest guy in that city. So come into agriculture with a smart, and I can tell you agriculture is sexy, is awesome, is amazing. So to young guys out there, we're expecting you. I'm here to support you. Reach out to me. I'm ready to support you to come into the agri space. And thank you to our government. Please keep on supporting us, making the environment interesting for young guys that are coming to agri space.
All right.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Jerry Toby, Operations Team Lead, Jet Farms and Agro Solutions Limited. We appreciate your time this morning. Dr. Debo Akande, Agribusiness Specialist and Director at the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, as well as DG of Oyo State Agribusiness Development Agency. We've also had Dr. Kabir Yusuf, who is National Project Coordinator, Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zones SAPZ in Nigeria. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time this morning. We truly, truly appreciate the time you've spent with us.
Thank you.
Well, yes, so much for food security. So when we return from this break, we're talking about Eid-el-Kabir. Do stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. Eid-el-Kabir, also known as the Festival of Sacrifice, is an important Islamic holiday celebrated by Muslims around the world in their millions. Now, this joyous occasion holds deep religious and cultural significance, and it commemorates the willingness of the Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his son as an act of obedience to God. Is there more to it, or is that just it? Well, let's have conversations this morning with Barrister Alatoye Folorunso Aziz, who is Amir Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Just to be clear,
all right,
this is the one that is called Ileya.
That's right.
Okay, in Yoruba.
That's right.
What does that mean?
You know, culturally, in the celebration of Eid in Yoruba area, that's when people travel, you know, from villages, you know, to town to go and celebrate the sacrifice of the ram. And, you know, all children are so happy about it that definitely Ileya. So, let's go home and celebrate at home.
But there are those who also say that the term "let's go home" was actually something that Ibrahim said to his son after, you know, that initiative. God rescued him and all of that.
That was the origin of the adoption here. Because when Almighty Allah tried Prophet Ibrahim to sacrifice his only son, Asrat Ishmael, he actually woke up and he was going to fulfill that, to go and sacrifice him. He told him actually that this is what I have seen. And the son said, do what God has asked you to do. He also told the mother said, do what God has told you to do. So all of them, they unanimously agreed. And they got to the point where he actually wanted to slaughter when Allah said, stop that. You fulfilled your promise. And now see that ram, take it and take it home. And so that is where let's go home, you know, first started. Okay. But we've adopted it now that, okay, so where is ram? Let's tie it to, you know, the truck that is carrying us home, and then let's go home to sacrifice in commemoration of Asrat Ibrahim.
I'm wondering if any woman today would just tell a husband that kind of thing. God says that he should sacrifice her son. The woman will just say, do what God has told you to do. I'm wondering if that was...
It's going to be difficult, and that is actually, you know, symbolic now for obedience to God by all arms of humanity. That is the message. We who are fathers, we must obey God. Elders, the women fold must obey God, and the children must also obey God if we want a very peaceful nation, a truthful nation. It is beyond having faith. They have faith in God, right? And God knows that the three of them have faith in him, no doubt. But that faith must be put into action. And that is the message. It's not about killing of ram or eating of ram. No. It is the messages that surrounds it. And there are a lot of messages. The first thing is truly knowing that God is somebody that we must submit to, and that he's going to provide for us. He won't suffer us. He might just test us a little bit. But if we have trust in him, then he's going to provide for us. We don't have to steal. We don't have to cheat. We don't have to extort. See that God gave Abraham a ram. And these are the kind of things that we are supposed to use to sacrifice. You don't use somebody else's property to sacrifice. You don't embezzle money and say you are sacred. The goat doesn't belong to you. Ram doesn't belong to you. Cow doesn't belong to you. So you are not sacrificing. In Islam, you are not. And the Holy Quran was very clear, about that.
Now, on the day of the Eid prayers, it's usually said before noon.
Yes.
Why is that importance? What's the importance of that on that day?
Yes. It is actually very important, and that signifies the remembrance of Allah in all that Muslim will be doing, and that's all over the world. The beginning of everything we do is actually the remembrance of Allah. And that is why you have the takbir that we raise to the Eid, which is usually done in the morning, because there's going to be fasting early in that morning for those who are going to kill ram, not to eat before the prayers. And that is why it has to come in the morning. Even if it is afternoon, we will still have to do it, but it comes in the morning because Allah do not even stress us. And while we are going to eat, we will be raising what we call takbir. Takbir means praising Allah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Walillahil hamd. It means Allah is the greatest. Allah is the greatest. And unto him only should we be praising. That is, everything we will be doing should be as if we are seeing Allah, both in the day and at night. And if you are doing something and you believe that Allah is seeing you, will you want to do any evil? Not at all. One will be very afraid. And so that is the message of the prayers that day. And if you also see it, we raise takbir first time, apart from the first one, we raise 7. Second time, we rose up, we raise another 5, is to remind us that Allah must be remembered in everything we do in life. And with that, there will be peace.
Now, how about the key ritual, which is sharing of the meat to families, friends, and those in the community?
Very good. That's another key message. If we take them, bit by bit, and I love the way, you are compartmentalizing them so that we will focus on each of them. That's another aspect of it. Sharing of ram is into 3, broadly. The first one is for one and his family, your immediate and extended family. So that is one aspect. The second one is for your neighbor and your friends. You can't have a friend who is not celebrating and you say you are celebrating. No. Then the third one is for the needy and the poor.
In the community.
In the community, in the whole community. And there should be no one who will not be celebrating on that day. Because Allah says in the Holy Quran, وَمِنْ أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ لِلسَّائِلِينَ وَالْمَحْرُومِ. In the wealth of those who have, are for those who can ask and for those who are not able to ask. There are some people who will ask you, but there are some people who will not be able to ask. Your neighbor, out of dignity, will probably not be able to ask you. Some people are jovial. It's not everybody that is jovial. Some are shy, by their nature. You have to do a very good pack and go and give them as well. In fact, a cooked one with rice and, meat, and give them so that everybody can be happy that day. And if it's cut across the whole country, then there shouldn't be anyone that is not happy, that day. So the Sallah ram is not something that somebody will say, okay, me and my family, we eat, then we boil the rest, we keep it in the fridge or the freezer till, beyond 3 days. No, we can't do that. And some people used to do salt meat or things like that. No.
Before we go to the other key rituals, okay. What is amazing is that the larger Muslim Ummah around the world, yes, they observe the same ritual and tradition.
That's right.
What does that emphasize?
That emphasizes, the universality of the message of humanity. Let me put it that way. All over the world, both in Nigeria, in Mecca, in US, in Canada, everywhere. The universality is, number one, we must put God first in everything we do. That's number one. we must also put forward the act of sacrifice for the purposes of humanity, of all categories of humanity. And this should not be only one country. And that is the reason, it has to be for the whole world. We also believe, the Holy Prophet, Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, is sent to the whole world so that there can be peace, all over the world. And let me also clarify, because there is a little bit of misconception about the right of self-defense that some people are now misusing for selfish interest. No. Apart from the right of self-defense in law, which is in the constitution of all countries, the right of self-defense, which the Holy Prophet exercised, apart from that, no human being, especially Muslim, can attack another Muslim or another individual. It must be all peaceful. And this is what this message also, teaches us, that globally, we must have sacrifice. You can't be sacrificing to somebody and still fighting that person. There is a mismatch. It is wrong, So it's a universal message of love. Sharing of meat, eating meat, everybody smiling, drinking, enjoying, non-alcoholic drinks anyway. So everybody happy that day, worldwide. So because according to Islam, human being is only one race. And this one race belongs to God.
Okay.
And we should all be happy.
I'd like to emphasize a little more on that peace conversation. But before that, what are the other key rituals, if I can use that term, that come with this holiday? Okay.
One of the key ritual that I want us all to know is, like when we are going to Eid, we will be praising Almighty Allah. It is teaching us a lesson that in our life, in our movement all around, we must always remember Allah. Because the fear of God in all we do is the beginning of wisdom. Then that automatically it will get to a point where we will find it difficult to even be associated with anything evil. Because you can't belong to God at the same time belong to God. No, you belong to only one. So sometimes there are that message of confusion that people will say, okay, we are people of God, yet they will be doing something that is ungodly. No, that is falsehood. That is deception. So that takbir that we raise is a ritual, but it reminds us that at all time we should be godly. And also, we also remind, ourselves of Allah for 5 days during this Hajj period. For instance, today, one of the rituals in Islam is stoning, of devil, which Asrat Ibrahim did. That's another aspect of ritual. This takbir that we raise for 5 days, the day of Arafat, the day of Eid, and then today, tomorrow, that people will be going to Jamra, where we'll be stoning the devil, is also symbolic. Apart from all this, we, those of us who are in Nigeria that we are not there, we will be raising takbir to Almighty Allah and all over the world, remembering Allah. And again, symbolic for those who are stoning Shaitan at Mecca, because Asrat Ibrahim, when Shaitan came to him, don't slaughter your son. He said, Auzubillahi minash shaitan. Stone him, 7 pebbles, threw it to him. He moved a little bit again. He came to him, threw another 7 to him, selected them. For the 3rd time he came, threw it to him again. That's why you have those 3 pillars that we stone those 3 pillars. Those who are at Hajj right now, they will have started the stoning yesterday. They will also stone today. They will also stone tomorrow. They are rituals. However, what is the message to us? Why throwing stone at something? Throwing stone means that we are throwing stone at the devil. So in Nigeria here, we should throw stone at the devil, not only to say it with word of mouth that Auzubillahi minash shaitan rajim. Now we send shaitan away. Then you can't behave in the satanic way. So that is another ritual that we must all remember, that we must throw stone at devil at all time. Men must throw stone at devil, women must throw stone at devil, and our children, we should also train them to throw stone at devil, so that at any time, devil will not have chance in our place.
Okay. Now, about peace.
Yeah.
The president, in his message, he was accosted by pressmen.
That's right.
And one of the things that everyone heard him say was that we should, of course, clamoring for peace, hopeful in Nigeria. But he mentioned specifically that we should remember our troops, the soldiers on the front line.
Yes.
Aside from praying for them, how do you think we can do that in a way that the armed forces, fighting in the land, air, and sea, can feel encouraged?
It's a bit complex, but it's very simple to me. We must be very honest, we must be very sincere, and we must demonstrate the correct spirit of sacrifice that those soldiers are sacrificing. Unfortunately, the soldiers sacrifice their life on the front line, but I'm not too sure. I'm not seeing that level of sacrifice from the nation backing them up. It's like we are pushing them forward to war front, but we are turning back from them and leaving them alone. We all have to be very loyal, and that is the message that this Eid-el-Kabir has taught to us. It's not only the father that has to be loyal, it's not only the son that will be pushed to the war front. All of them unanimously agree that we must do what is right. We must support all the soldiers. We can't send them to the war front and not give them the right support. And when I say the right support, I don't mean only ammunition. All citizens of the country must stand by them. We can't be colluding with bandits, terrorists, turning them against the soldiers. Any member of the citizen, whether in government or outside the government, that is so ungodly, and that is lack of sense of sacrifice. Because as they are sacrificing themselves, we also have to sacrifice ourselves by supporting them fully. I can't see that support for them. And a lot of them, are dying. Still, they are still committed. And that is why, sometimes people used to think, these military people, no, we have to do beyond what we are doing. I also have that very strong belief. We must provide very strong support to them. It's another subject matter that we need to be looking at.
As you were speaking, is the question that comes to my mind, Barrister, is we can't legislate patriotism, can we?
No, not at all. I agree.
How do we champion that?
We need to do a lot of the national orientation. And I must agree with Mr. President that we must provide that support. Just as Mr. President had said it, that is what every Nigerian must say. And that is what every Nigerian must support. I agree with you, you cannot legislate behavior. So we cannot legislate, patriotism, that it is expected that we will all be patriotic, and we will all be loyal, and we will all be committed. And that is where we started this conversation. The father was patriotic, was committed to the family, because he didn't allow Shaitan to come and break the family. The woman did not allow Shaitan to come and break the family. The son did not allow Shaitan to come and break the family. And that is where patriotism and nationhood, comes in. So, and that is exactly what I am saying, that everyone must demonstrate commitment to the unit family, and by so doing, to the nation. And that is what we need to be able to provide support to our military, people.
Well, I don't know if this is on a lighter note, but the festivities have always been linked to consumerism. Particularly in this age of economic topsy-turvy.
That's right.
How best can one observe the festival without being excessive?
Yeah, I think this time around we have to be moderate, to be very honest. We have to be moderate because the reality is that cost of things, are a bit high nowadays. So I have told, people a number of times, especially during advice to people, that we should all demonstrate a sense of sacrifice. And if you are able to kill ram, fine, kill within your means. Don't go and start borrowing money that, because people must know that my ram is always a very big one. No. Of course, you have something to even connect it with. You know that it was flood in Niger, and so the rams are not coming. So this is one I am able to. So on a lighter note, you can also say, of course, the price is high this year. So we should cut our coat according to our cloth. That's one of the lessons even of these Ramadan, these Eid-el-Kabir. We shouldn't do, beyond. And those who Allah has blessed, they should spread things out this time around, even beyond where they normally do it. Because quite a lot of people will not be able to ask. But, but on a lighter note, how are you celebrating, you drop, quite a number of things, and they will be very happy. So, and that is what we need to do for this Eid-el-Kabir.
Finally, again, you spoke about peace earlier.
Yes.
These days, in many parts of the world, we have all kinds of disagreements. And some of those disagreements are based on religious differences. So what message do you think we can learn and take on from this festival to ensure harmony?
Let me come in to say that those disagreements were not and are not and will not be based on religious disagreements. They are based on ego. They are based on sense of personal supremacy or group supremacy. And they are based on probably envy or selfishness. And I will explain that. What is religion? That's the question. The Holy Prophet Muhammad said, Adeno Nasia. Religion is good conduct. And that's all. Religion is not about I am this sect, I'm that sect. No. It is about good conduct. Obedience to Allah and good conduct. Go and pick all those crises one after the other. Apart from the right of self-defense, you will see that it's about fighting for supremacy. And that's what it is, fighting for resources, fighting for power. That's what you will find there. For instance, if it is Islam, Islam has only 5 pillars and 6 articles of faith. And the foundation of everything is believe in God, do good to humanity. There is no third one. If you also pick other religion, I'm not delving into Christianity, for example, is, accept that your God is one and love your neighbor. That's religion. So there is no evil there. Religion has no evil content. Evil belongs to the devil. Religion only teaches us that this act, the one you are looking at from that side, is devil. So the religious aspect is just to be godly and to do good to humanity. However, those who are fighting wars, what are they fighting for? Number one is that they are fighting for territories. They are fighting for land. Number two, they are fighting for wealth. Gold, Columbite and all these African quarries, and they are fighting, for that. And you also find out that a number of people are fighting for power because you use power. For instance, if you look at some northern part of Nigeria, somebody declaring caliphate, that now this is not part of Nigeria. That's what they are fighting for. Tell me who is fighting for which pillar of Islam or which pillar of Christianity is anybody fighting for? With utmost respect. No.
All right. Well, we have to thank you very much. And Let me believe that everyone else has picked a food for thought, one way or the other. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Bryce Alatoye, Folorunsho Aziz, Amir Ahmadiyya, Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria. We appreciate your time today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
So when we return, we have another conversation around reforms in the rail sector. Do stay with us. Well, one of the infrastructure most used during these holidays is the railway. I remember in the days of, and I don't know if it is something that still happens, the Governor Alegbeshola, every time there is this holiday, it will be free train service for the people from Lagos or wherever to go back home and back to their base stations. Well, the Nigerian rail sector is undergoing some significant reforms with a focus on modernization, increased efficiency, and private sector participation. Key aspects include transitioning to CNG, that's compressed natural gas for train engines, implementing a new master plan in the railway sector, and exploring public-private partnerships. These reforms, hopefully, will improve the sector's performance, attract investment, and ultimately enhance the quality of rail transport for Nigerians. Well, how is this happening? Well, who best to talk about it than the managing director, the Nigeria Railway Corporation, with us here, Dr. Kayode Okwefa. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Well, is it appropriate now to say congratulations?
Eid Mubarak. Thank you very much.
Well, these modernization initiatives, I've been hearing about it for a very, very long time, and you would understand. Something in the region of between 15 and 20 years now. But the best of it that we have seen is what happens in Lagos, because a good number of people would also tell you that, hey, if anything is happening in the rail sector in the different parts of the country, Lagos would probably be where, as a state, a subnational, is championing this a lot on its own. You would, of course, know about that, the background to it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me say Eid Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters, and also to congratulate Nigerians for seeing another Sallah, and we'll see more of this many more years. Now, like you started, the history of Nigerian Railway itself is what is the answer to your question. That is, since the rail system started 1898, eventually 1912, before even the word Nigeria came into being, the purpose of the rail is to link people, products, farm products, services, goods, investments, to where they actually are of the smallest and the biggest value. Now, starting railway itself was by Lagos, by some private individuals, private entrepreneurs, the British people, and that led to the first rail company, the Lagos government. You know, that was when Nigeria was about to be born. The Lagos government, that is colonial Lagos, that built the Lagos Abeokuta and subsequently Lagos Ibadan rail system. So you are not wrong to expect that Lagos will be at the centerpiece. However, in modern day, the rail for Nigeria as a nation afterwards and up to this moment should not be just for one state. It should be for everybody. So what they did then was to link the northern part of Nigeria with the southern part of Nigeria. That is Kano, Kaduna, Kara, Namoda to Lagos. Then subsequently, then the Port Harcourt to Maiduguri line came up. And this was solely for extractive businesses. That is to move the coal, farm products and the rest down
More
to
for
the port.
cargo services.
More for cargo service. And eventually, towards independence, it became for passengers and for cargo. Now, that was the first 60 years. After that 60 years that the thing was handed over to us, we struggled. We were using it, but we struggled to expand the capacity of that rail system. That's where you see, I hope I have some pictures to show, where you have our trains are packed with woods, motorcycles, bicycles, all sorts of things, and people jam-packed, moving from Lagos to Kano, Port Harcourt to Maiduguri to Kafanchan, until we got to, then there were not too many roads. So during the Gowon era, there were a lot of roads built, and that diffused the importance. And we tend to gradually stay away from the rail until, again, what you refer to modernization. When then in 2002 to 2010, the Obasanjo government started the modernization program, but there was not much traction until 2015. There was a reform in 2010 to 2012 that started with the Obasanjo government, but more so affected more by the Yaradua Jonathan government. And that was when they brought in some Nigerians abroad to come and take control of managing the Nigerian railway. So they did all the planning and rest. But that still did not translate to track and soil until 2015. Can you imagine? 60 years of good works, 60 years of slowdown, now the last 10 years. When the Buhari government completed the Abuja-Kaduna, that started with the Obasanjo, Jonathan, Yaradua administration, he completed the Warri-Itakpe. I think that must have started by probably Shagari's government. That's the Warri-Itakpe, that's Ajaokuta. That was actually supposed to serve the iron ore business of Ajaokuta, to take the raw materials to Ajaokuta, to mine it, take it to Delta Steel, then to the port. Then the same government started the Abuja-Kaduna. So that was where we started. The whole modernization focuses on introducing the standard gauge, which actually in 1970, Chief Obafemi Awolowo had documented in his book, Strategy for National Development or something, that until we got the narrow gauge, we are joking that the world is shifting. But we didn't do anything. From 1970, we didn't realize it. So it wasn't as if somebody did not think about it. Somebody thought about it. However, the last 10 years is now to represent what we have done in the last 120 years. Now, as soon as the Buhari administration did the Lagos-Ibadan in 3-4 years, that also will go as a record. That's about 152 kilometers, double gauge in 3-4 years. That's phenomenal in the history of rail development, even worldwide, for an African country. So what that tells me is that Nigeria has the capacity, capability, and the understanding of what to do. It's just the political will to drive it. Now, in the last 2 years, what the last 2 years has not done is to take all the dots and the errors and to make sure that they are fixed so that we can get into the right, that is leapfrogging, rather than trying to find out, no, let's just go and meet them where they are. So this government now decided to maximize what we have. Make sure that completed the linking of the standard gauge to the port. You know, that was started but not completed. That is Apapa Port. Completed the 3 lines of the standard gauge, either though we have the narrow gauge into Apapa. 2, completed and commissioned for commercial operation the Port Harcourt-Aba, which, when started, crippled the entire North Central network because it is being fed from Port Harcourt, Aba, and Enugu. They completed it and they commissioned the Port Harcourt to Aba. Now, put aggressive implementation of the Kaduna-Kano, because if the Kaduna-Kano is executed in the return, which we believe by 2026 should be ready, you will have successfully linked Kaduna, Kano, Abuja on their way to Lagos port, because there is also an aggressive commencement of the Ibadan to Osogbo and then Osogbo to Abuja. So that will replicate what we have on the narrow gauge of Lagos to Kano, which is by now the longest rail line of 1,200 kilometers. Apart from that, the next long one is the Warri-Itape, which is less than 400, just about 400. Now, the government now is also aggressively pursuing the Kano-Maradi. A lot of people don't understand what that really is when they hear Maradi in Niger. According to AU 2063, African countries are encouraged to link landlocked countries because there are potentials in those countries that represent, you just spoke about food security. By the way, from the literature I have read, the food security for Nigeria and West Africa in cereal and livestock is tied to Maradi. So you can see the reasoning linking Kano to Maradi. Beyond that, if you take mobility out of the equation, you won't have food security. I heard the presenter, I think that was missing in that presentation. When you take mobility out of
logistics,
supply chain, you are just joking. And that's what Nigerian managers of our food security should understand. Mobility is at the center of food security. And that's what the Kano Maradi, which will now be Kano to Kaduna, Kaduna to Abuja, Abuja to Lagos, will represent. Now, this government has taken that as a priority. Maximize what we have. Close all the dots left from the previous one. Now, two, the government now decided to do a new infrastructure map of rail. And that is to make sure major cities are connected. What we experienced 2 days ago, when we moved the Osogbo train you mentioned, moved, we had to add 2 extra coaches on the day of movement. People slept at Ido a day before to catch that train. You know what then happened? People had already joined the train from Kajola, Agbado, Agege. They paid 700 naira for a free ride to go and take a free ride in Ido. By the time they got to Ido, the train was half full. Few people came down. Now, coming back, those who waited at Agege, Agbado, now could not get a space after we've added 2 extra. The same thing happened in Warri-Itape, which don't really have a train. We don't have a schedule for Thursday. We introduced a Thursday schedule. Within 3 hours of opening up the portal, it was fully booked. People stood in that train that were from Warri to Itape. Same thing on Kaduna, Abuja-Kaduna train. We introduced extra coaches because they already having 3 lines. We struggled and found a way to do 2 extra coaches. Within hours of introducing, announcing that the portal is now open, it was full booked. That takes you back to what maximizing what we have. Now, the next thing this government did is now to start the freight revolution.
Before you go there, this means that there is business that government had been stalling on over the years inadvertently. Because if the opportunity for the commercial value had been known and had been crystallized over the years, when you open a portal and within a very short window it's all full, it means that we just be sitting on our hands.
Correct, but this is the festive season, just to show the appreciation and acceptance, to say that if people have more, or at other times they will use it. But give the credit to this government for identifying those openings. And that's why the first intervention in December 2023 was to start the free train ride for that 2 weeks during that end of year period. And that too, as soon as you open the portal, you get the thing fully subscribed. Is to tell you that that is on the passenger side. It's not really, doesn't really bring much return on, profit in terms of cash, but it brings political capital. It brings social capital that the people feel connected to their government. The government made this available to them. So, and what that also translates to is that the potentials, like we said, is there. But more importantly, to now balance the effect of the economic side is the freight by rail revolution, which this government had also prioritized. Now, how does that work? Is to ensure that all our lines, both narrow gauge, will be moving cargo when they are not moving passenger. So now we move gypsum, we move coils, we move pipes, for Abuja, AKK, Ajaokuta, Kaduna, Kano pipeline. All the pipes used were moved from the Warri Port through Itape down to Abuja and from there by road to the north. Also, we're moving soda ash, and we move cement. To my interest, we're moving cement from Papaland to the north, Ilorin, on a daily basis. And people are moving goods. Now the pressure is now on the Nigerian Railway to meet the demand. There are people who want to move steel, iron ore from Ajaokuta down to Warri Port. There are people, I can mention the big companies in logistics in this country. You can't take out Dangote. You can't take out Boa. You can't take out Honeywell. All these companies are
leading me to
and guess what?
Yes.
The Nigerian Railway Corporation, representing government, is meeting the demands currently.
Now, which leads me to one of the initiatives that you are talking about in this modernization space. The previous Minister of Transportation had told us that, look, rail infrastructure, or rather rail transport service, is not profitable, that it's largely to just provide an enabling environment for an economy. But here you are talking about implementing or rather exploring public-private partnerships.
Okay, let me modify that assertion. It is profitable. It depends on how you define profit. You see, when you talk, it's entirely the transport system. People say moving people, no, that's not it. It is the management of the processes, of the factors of production for efficient return on investment. So when you say efficient return on investment, you are not talking of 2 minus 2 equals 4 for one sector. Now, it is the overall economy. So while it doesn't bring cash from the passenger, to break even, the freight will break even. Get it? But the infrastructure itself is not the breaking point we are talking about. The cashback period for that may take longer. However, associated businesses will be making bumper profits. That profit translates to taxes, fees, charges, and government is better for it. So government makes more money, but not the train operation. So it is that profit that government makes from other sources that government plows back into the infrastructure. So what we say, it is a socio-economic sector that is expected to facilitate trade for better economic growth rather than itself. So when you build roads, who pays for the road? It's government builds the road, we all use it free. That's how the transport sector. So it's like saying government builds road, United States Ministry of Works to go and make profit from. They won't make. But the road will translate to quality of life, better standard of living, and so on other things. Okay. So for us, now talking about the private sector, they're coming in. But the reason why the private sector will not go into infrastructure just like that, because they will look at their cashback period, they will look at their return, because the cashback period is long. Now, cost of borrowing and the rest of things is a factor, and the money is not there all over the world. So what the private sector does is they can give you loan. They do. They do give loans. I mean, talking of investment banking now, the developmental investors, the venture capital will bring loans. When the loans come in, government will use it and pay back. However, for the rolling stocks, the private sectors are heavily involved. Right now, a company is operating on a track, moving its cargo with his own equipment. I don't want to mention that. Right now, a state government is operating on the national track. Sorry, 2 state governments are now operating on the national tracks, moving their own rail industry. One is using its own rail, the other one is using Nigerian Railway Corporation's locomotives and coaches, rolling stocks. Now, right now, no less than 30 Nigerian logistics companies are now moving goods on the rail tracks. They are all now planning to acquire their own equipment. That is under what you call the track access program that started a few years ago. And that program is to get the private sector involved in a profitable manner. So we provide the track, we provide the technical capacity, we maintain the equipment for them, and we make sure they can transit on the rail track at a lower price than moving by road. And that is ongoing now. Then the private sector are also seriously investing in other areas of the, like you mentioned, the CNG thing. Not really CNG per se, but alternative, newer green energies that are cheaper. So you now see companies approaching us, they are ready to build this station to provide you this energy that will bring down your cost. And that's, you have seen with our partnership with the CNG. Some private sector people too are joining us in innovation using technology for security, for ticketing. All our ticketing system now on our 3 major lines are by the private sector. So we don't have to bulk ourselves with acquiring ticketing equipment. They manage that. And also, some are now coming and saying that they want to build the track because they have seen that this government is serious in terms of ensuring that there is an ease of doing business. This government is serious, especially in investing in infrastructure to the extent that what they need to do is just to join the dots and move. So the private sector has a huge opportunity in the rail sector. The low profit margin is there, but what it gives is sustainable profit margin. You can be rest assured if you invest in any of the supply chain lines along the, some people are building inland depot. I'm aware that there are not less than 4 companies now that are interested in building freight yards. They are interested in building inland container dry ports and the rest. So these are the areas that when it comes to laying tracks, it is capital intensive, and government takes that responsibility.
Okay, now let's just wind down on this. What in the next few years should Nigerians be looking up to? I want to actually get you to speak about engagement of the locals on the routes that the railways have to go through. Because it's all about security. We've had security issues as far as the rail lines are concerned over the years. Thankfully, those have since abated. We would like to know what you did. And how do we sustain that win, particularly by engaging the locals in the various communities that all our rail tracks will go through?
Yeah, all our rail corridors are, the local communities are involved in the operations and the security and in the service delivery. I wouldn't want to talk about what we have been doing so far, but we just pray that we continue to do them and want to appeal to the communities who are supporting us to continue to support us. The area we need them more is in the area of vandalism. I was at a conference in South Africa, I think the month of April, and I was shocked that people are even stealing electric cables that powers their trade. But what do they steal here? They steal the steel, and they call it scrap. And to the investors who take it from there, we don't have scraps in the Nigerian railway. We have national assets. Those are the assets that links our people by culture, by religion, by tribe, to each other. Through those tracks, you can transit from Lagos, get to Osogbo speaking Yoruba. You get to Ilorin speaking Fa. When you get to Mokwa, you start. When you get to Niger, you change to Nupe. From Nupe, you start speaking Hausa. And subsequently, you get to Kara Namoda, you are speaking Fufude or some other language. Then you go to the other side, you are speaking Kalabari, you speak Edo, then you go further, you speak Igbo, and you move further, you start speaking Tiv, and then you get to Maiduguri, you are speaking Kanuri. Those are the tracks that makes it possible. Anybody vandalizing them is like going to the heart of our people. The integration, what binds us together, the railway is one of them. Now, what else do we do? To every part railway passes through, it becomes a major city. So it is in the interest of the locals too to make sure railway survive. And this government, I'm aware, I know the plan, which is going to be unveiled by the national government very soon, is that railway is going to ask many more cities that we have ever seen. Our new lines are coming up that will touch cities.
Will this be championed by the federal government or the states
No,
themselves?
I'm coming to the state, the national government. We create the backbone. Now, under the new dispensation by this government, the rail has been removed, has been taken away from, what do you call that thing? To concurrent. What do you call that?
Exclusive.
Exclusive to concurrent. And what has done is that states are even getting grants from the national government to develop their rail line. Lagos State is using track access on red line. Kaduna is coming up very soon. Niger is supporting us on the narrow gauge to ensure, except for this last Mokwa flooding that is disruption. The plan was to take rail this festival 3 days ago to Mena and Ilorin and Ofa. So they are supporting that. Ogun State is on track. Then Plateau is starting railing on the plateau from Jos to Bukuru. Now, that is what we call railing on the state, railing with the states. And that is because this government supported the removal of rail from exclusive lease to concurrent lease. So state governments not only now can develop rail on their own, they are also being supported by grants. The last, this current budget, 400 billion was allocated to support states. And I know some states are benefited. So what this government is doing is to make sure that the burden is no longer on the national government. However, the national government owes a duty to every Nigerian to connect the city. So, in addition, the developmental commission that were established, Southwestern Development, I'm aware of the Southwestern agenda. The rail plan is almost ready.
Okay.
So also the Southeast, so also the Northeast Development Commission, they are also getting grants and budget votes from government to build and link cities. If you mention 10 cities for me, now I'm sure at least 5 are in the plan to be connected.
Okay. We have to thank you very much for this information that you've given us all about reforms in the rail sector. We can only wish you the best. Thank you so much for your time. Dr. Kayode Okwefa is Managing Director, Nigeria Railway Corporation. Again, we appreciate your time today. So when we return from this break, we are talking about how you prepare your teens for life. What does that mean? When we return. So, thank you, by the way, for staying with us. Last week, we had some very heart-wrenching comments from our guests about young people, about children in particular, and how distant the parents are from their realities. It was very heart-wrenching, very chagrin for a good number of people who were here, and the people who we had in the studio work with children, and the things they told a good number of people who watched that episode. Well, I don't know if they are still not having those nightmares. But is that the worst? Or should we even be talking about the worst? Maybe not. The challenge is, we've heard this statement said over time, adulthood is scam. And they say education is scam and all of that. Where is all that coming from? And that's usually coming from young adults. Where is all that coming from? There are specialists who believe that it's because the teens have not been significantly prepared for the time. They weren't prepared for life. And then when life happens to them, then they begin to scream. Well, let's have conversations about how you prepare teens for life. With our guest this morning, Mrs. Tolani Falabi, who is a clarity coach, and she works with teens. Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
You've heard that thing said. Adulthood na scam. First of all, first time you heard it, how did it resonate with you as a professional in this field?
I'm laughing because really, isn't it?
Oh, well.
You know, I remember growing up myself and lamenting as to why my parents or my uncles don't respond when we want certain things. But now I'm grown, I'm making the money. And when people are requesting, I'm like, do you know how long it takes me to make that money? And you just request like, no, like I have it saved up somewhere. Yeah, but really, is it scam, or is it that we're not prepared for, nobody prepared us for what was ahead? To say, I remember when I just started working, I will come back home crying, tired, because I'm like, does it have to be this hard to make money? And I'll tell my mom I want to go and resign. My mother will say, resign where? You will go back tomorrow. You know, so people think adulthood is scam because we're not effectively prepared for what to expect. So we grow up being adults and boom, that's the reality. And they were like, oh, now I understand what my parents were saying. But maybe if someone had better prepared us, maybe we won't feel it's scam.
Okay, so first of all, what are the challenges? Let's talk first of all about the understanding of parents. What much or what quantum of understanding parents have or adults have about teenage life, and how much, if it has, changed over the years.
So if I understand your question, you're asking if the parents are knowledgeable about the teenagers they are currently handling. Well, oftentimes parents think that they do. I work with teenagers all the time, and one of the things that I have observed is that there is an understanding of who the child is, but the parents have a total understanding of who they think that child is. And so you hear, oh, I'm doing all I can to ensure that this child is comfortable. I send you to good school, I ensure that you eat well, you buy some of the things that you want, maybe not all. But the child is saying, I'm looking for emotional connection. I want to feel like my parents love me. But these kids are not getting this. So parents oftentimes feel, I'm doing the best that I can. My parents didn't even do up to half of what I'm doing for you. So be appreciative. These kids are not saying, we don't appreciate what it is that you're doing. They're saying there is more to what we want than what you're giving. You're giving all the physical things, but we want to be able to connect with you emotionally. I want to be able to come back home and say that somebody bullied me in school without you saying, you too, why would you allow yourself to be bullied? It wasn't like I picked myself to be a victim, right? I want to be able to come home and talk to you about my body, to say, I don't feel comfortable like this. Is there something we can do about it? And you not insulting me and say, when you will be eating like a glutton, why won't you be this big? So when people are insulting you in school, maybe you deserve it. So teenagers oftentimes are looking for this emotional connection that parents are not giving. So for parents feel, I know my child, I understand my child, but oftentimes, today really. And one of the things that I want all parents watching at home to do is sit with your child today and ask your child, what is it that I am doing that you want me to stop doing? And what is it that I am not doing that you want me to start doing? You will understand a lot of things better. If you think that you know your child, maybe you should sit with your child and ask them, who are you? And let them explain themselves to you.
Is this what teenagers mean when they say, I'm going through a lot? Because I remember my own teenager at the time, about 10 years ago now, saying, Daddy, if you know what I'm going through. What are you going through?
Exactly.
So when teenagers say they are going through a lot, the thing in the parents' head is, are you paying school fees? Are you paying house rent? Are you even the one who bought your phone? Help parents understand what a lot is and the parents are going through, that the teenagers are going through.
They are going through a lot. The world is evolving fast. You know, there's information overload, there's technology, new apps coming up every day that they had to keep up with. They have friends who probably travel and they don't, depending on the environment these kids find themselves. They have this identity crisis. They're not even sure exactly who they are. New culture, new information coming up about what is right and what is wrong. You know what used to be wrong before now, what the parents had imbibed into them, they see it out there and it's not a big deal. it's okay to have a boyfriend. It's okay to do certain things. You know how we were growing up. You can't even, sit with a boy. Your parents will have told you that you're going to get pregnant. I'm not sure how we believe that. My mom, I don't know what you did. You know how we believe those stories. But these kids, this doesn't work. Rather, they are. I remember a case of a girl who said, I'm crushing on somebody, and I wrote a letter, and I think my teacher found out, or parents, and they were talking about it, making her feel, bad for crushing on somebody. Everybody was insulting her and using all sorts of words for her. She's just crushing on somebody. So my question to the teacher or to the parent is, didn't you at one point, crushed on someone, and then you embarrass this person for specially liking somebody, rather than helping the child navigate that process of, what emotions do you feel exactly? Have you felt, because when I'm handling teenagers who are dealing with crush, have you felt like this with someone else before? Oh, yes. How long did it last? Oh, after 2 months, I saw him talking to another girl, so I didn't like him again, so I moved on. So to say that you cannot make a decision to maybe have sex with somebody just because you crushed on the person or because you like the person, and then you make them see the instances of the set of people that they've liked in time past and what happened, they didn't like the person again. So imagine that you've had to, be with all of those people, and then it's just explanation. That's what these kids are asking for. So a lot of things are going on with them. They're trying to navigate their way through teenagehood. Sometimes they are on their period and their emotions are running everywhere. They can't even explain why they're cranky, because we've not taught them self-awareness. We've not taught them to be able to name their emotions. So all of these are going on with the kids, but because parents also have their own that they're dealing with, and then you're thinking, please, 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 please. I'm already taking all the bills. And of course, parents are under pressure, so they're thinking, don't bring up yours. But not all parents. We also have parents who are very present, who are asking questions, but sometimes they're probably not even asking the right question. They just want to know, so how did your day go? And if your kids have seen how you reacted to some answer they've given you in time past, it could also affect the level of truth that they would give to you. So yes, are children or teenagers going through a lot? Yes, they are. And of course, even academics, it could be overwhelming. I've had kids who say, oh, they're always giving us homework in school. I have so much to do. I have limited time. I still want to get home. My mom wants me to maybe gist with her, and she's angry that I don't want to talk to her. It's not like I don't want to talk. I'm just not in the mood. So parents need to understand that these kids are, a lot is going on with them, and we need to understand. So if they say a lot is going on, just find out what that a lot is, and not shove it aside like it's not important.
Okay. So, to the meat of the matter, we have limited time. How do we prepare the teenager for adulthood so they don't see it as a scam? Because it is coming.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how do parents do that?
One of the things that we need to, first of all, do is emotional intelligence for these kids. What do I mean? Are your kids able to identify their emotions per time? Can they name how they feel? And not just react all the time, because they can't name it. So when your parents say, oh, I don't know why my child is snapping, they can't name that emotion. So we need to be able to teach them.
You assume that the parents, you assume that the parents themselves know. Because you said it the other time that even the parents themselves, they are calling adulthood scam because they themselves were not taught.
Oh, well, there's a lot of information online right now.
Okay.
That's why parenting school can't be overemphasized. You can't think that, oh, you have it all figured out, because the generation that you have at hand are evolving per time with the new technology that comes, the speed at which these kids evolve. Sometimes I hear some certain things because I work with them, so I get to learn from them, because they're the one who uses technology. They're the one who is coming up with all of these things. So for you to know what is happening in their world, you need to be able to learn from them. But just have simple conversations. How are you feeling? Are you able to name your emotion? So are you feeling lonely? Why are you feeling lonely? oh, maybe it could just be that you didn't give me a hug is why they're feeling lonely. Name your emotions. Are you feeling sad? Why are you feeling sad? It could be something that you have said to them. It could be something that happened in school. Help them identify and name their emotion and create scenarios in such a way that they are able to navigate such emotions next time they feel it. So they could be cranky. Sometimes they say, oh, I'm on my period. I don't even know. I'm just angry. I just don't want to talk to anybody. I just, you know, so at home you are talking to them. It looks like they're being insulting. No, they don't even understand how they're feeling. But if you're able to help them identify that emotion and name it, and to say, when next I feel like this, what do I do to feel better? That's one. Another thing is values. Do we have values that our kids live by? Empathy, responsibility, integrity, respect. How do we imbibe these values? Do we even live it out? Do we model these values to them? Do we help them understand that it's not by what they have, it's not by what you're able to provide for them, but by who they are. Who are they as an individual? Who, you know, when we're growing up, you will say, oh, that's an abe. They don't behave, you know, in this way. Your parents, when you are going to school, will say, remember the child of whom you are. But right now, how many of our families still reinforce these things to say, remember the child of whom you are? What that means is there are certain behaviors that we would not expect from you because this is not how we do it. You know, I remember myself growing up, my father would say, if you fail, fail honorably. If you pass, pass honorably. Meaning that I didn't have fear of failing because I know that even if I don't do well in my academics, I can come back home and my parents will not scold me. They will not make me feel like I failed or I'm a failure. Will I prepare? Yes. Did I ever fail? No. Because there was also reward for doing well. So that value of being responsible and integrity, that you do not cheat in examination regardless. Knowing that when I come back home, there are no consequences for not doing well. However, you might not get reward because you have also not done well. So what are the values that we're imbibing into our kids? And are we modeling it, right? To say, oh, I want my child to be more empathetic. Are we doing that with our drivers, with our cooks, the people that we work with, our kids saying how we relate with people? Another thing is preparing them for life, with life skills. What have you observed with your kids? Gone are the days where every mother or father wants their child to be a doctor, a lawyer. There are a lot of things that these kids can do. They are making money right now on the internet. Are we teaching them how to save? Are we teaching them to pick up skills that while they are even in school, they can use to begin to make money? Some of them are now coding. Some of the parents who have businesses, your kids can now begin to learn animations that will even promote your own business. So it looks more like we're around running a family business because the child might be able to do maybe graphics design, do some form of animation, just something that is even able to help your own business. So you want to expose them. Now, when I mean expose them to different kind of skills, I'm not saying load their plate, because I've also seen parents who, the kids don't have a life on Saturdays where they should be resting. The whole essence of weekend is for the kids to rest because they've gone to school Monday to Friday. But then you see the child saying, my mom said I should go to swimming school. They are life skills, yes, but can you not chunk it up together at a time? Let it be maybe the first quarter, this is what we're learning, the second quarter, this is what we're learning, rather than child having 3, 4, 5 activities to get done on a weekend when they should be resting. So after swimming class, then they're going to piano class. After piano class, then they're going to karate. You just keep, and I think why parents do this is to keep the kids busy. They don't have the time, they're not available, so they feel if I, choke their day with all of this activity, at least I can be sure that I'm very engaged till maybe when I get back in the evening. So one, I talked about emotional intelligence, helping them identify and manage their emotion. I've also talked about values, help them elicit the values that they can live by, that will prepare them for the future. And one of the things that we also need to understand about that is whether you are aware of it or not, you are living by a value daily. some set of
and the
values.
children can see it.
Yes, some set of values are driving you per day. So will it not be better if you're able to identify such values and see what is working, what we need, and what we don't want as a family? And then the next one is preparing them for life. What skills do they need to learn? Do they need to learn tech skills? Are there, what future are you preparing them for? What are the skills that you've observed in your child and you're trying to build up on, you know, for them? These are things that parents need to begin to pay attention to, because the world is evolving so fast.
Okay.
How can they also stay safe online? When they go online, how are they able to stand bullies? Are they also bullying too? Do you go on somebody's page? These are basic things that every parent needs to, you know, teach their kids, that you don't go online and bully others. And also prepare them, because people online would bully them, would say things. You see all of the celebrities saying, people just insult us. Somebody saying to an actor, oh, you're not fine. Somebody saying to, you know, making a comment on someone's post, you're doing too much, you're not beautiful. And you see how adults are saying these things get to us, not to talk of teenagers. And they are on all kinds of platforms that you are not even aware of. So how have you prepared them to be able to understand who they are as a person, that regardless of what anybody says to them online, they're able to, you know, stand on their own and say, that's not who I am. If someone looks at me now and say, oh, you're ugly, you must be blind. It must be that you're not seeing well. You know, so they must be able to teach their kids that regardless of what life is throwing at them, they are prepared. Would they be down sometimes? Of course, yes. Resilience is another thing, that we don't give up at the slightest failure. We don't give up when things are not going our way. You know, the same way when they're trying to play games and they want to get to the next level of the game and it seems difficult. Do they give up? Do they smash the phone and look at those characters, look at those traits in your kids? Are you building resilience in them? Because life would happen.
Interesting. Even the president said he doesn't watch social media anymore because he doesn't like
so much is happening.
I mean, talking about the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria here.
Not to talk about a teenager.
Yeah. You actually went to the question I was supposed to ask you after this one, but at least you've gone there, talking about trolling on the internet and all of those things. Now, some of the issues that you have raised, is it peculiar to a particular gender?
No.
Okay.
Both male and female. They experience the same thing. So as parents, if you're going to be dealing with your kids, don't say, oh, is a girl child who is likely being bullied. No. Some male child are also being bullied. They will say, oh, you're not smart enough. Oh, you're not. You know, I've had a case of a boy who was being bullied in school because he didn't like sports. Not all boys will like sport. Not all boys want to do sport. But every child, maybe not every, that would be generalization. A lot of the boys in his class or in his school used to insult him and say, oh, you must be a girl. Are you one of them? And, you know, make jest of this boy. And he felt really bad. And he didn't even talk about it at home. Good enough, his brother at home was also into sports. And the mother also didn't make things, you know, easy on him to say, see, your brother can run, see, your brother can do. But this boy is interested in music. He does it better than any other person, but nobody's paying attention to that part of him. Yet they keep saying what he cannot do. So oftentimes what we teach children is focus on the things that you can do. Because some things that you can do, some other people cannot do. So don't let anybody begin to make you feel bad for what they can do that you can't do. If we want to, you know, send it back to them, you also let them know the things that you can do, you know, that they can do. But we don't want to go that route. So it's important for parents to know that it's not just one gender. It's not just though the female, the male also go through this, and they want to pay attention to that.
By and large, you're saying all of this falls on the parents.
Yes.
You heard. Thank you so much for your time this morning. Mutolani Falabi is a clarity coach, and she also works with teenagers. Now, when we return, it's the home stretch, and I'll not let the cat out of the bag until we return. Okay. Well, the fellow you have seen there is known as Undisputed Zakir. What does that mean? Well, you find out from Sanusi Murtala Olamilekan, who is our guest this morning, renowned Islamic musician with a string of notable milestones and albums. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome.
What is Zakir?
Zakir is the person that praises God, that remembers God. So it's an Arabic word, Zakir, somebody who remembers God constantly.
Interesting. The Muslim cleric we had here also kept talking about, you know, remembering God, you know, with having him in mind and all of that.
Yes, sir.
You pursued a career in healthcare at the University of Lagos College of Medicine, and you earned a medical radiography.
Yes, sir. I did.
You're now doing musical radiography.
I do music and I do medical radiography.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what drew you into music.
I had the desire to go into music since I was small. My dad used to like music, so he really wanted one of his children to be a musician, as I heard, because I was very small. So he used to encourage us to sing, and then I think I was the one that picked that his desire. I was one I inherited that his desire. So I found myself into music.
Born and raised in Isale-Gangan community of Lagos Island. Any impact of that on you?
An islander is always an islander. I think there will still be an atom of an islander in me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but it really helped me grow. It really helped my mindset because people say, "Oh, my command bon." So I think I'm wise enough. I think it has really helped me being a Lagosian.
Well, there's another thing that they know about. You know, that some people believe that there is a lot of hooliganism and all of those things.
Maybe I didn't take the negative part. Maybe mine is the positive part, and we have swags, we have,
Okay. Now, you are more of a faith singer.
Yes, I am.
More into faith music and all of that.
Yes.
Aside from your dad liking it and all of that thing, what has that done for you? How did you develop that part of you? Okay,
so as I said earlier, I started since I was young. So I think I really enjoyed what I was doing. If it was something I didn't enjoy, as a matter of fact, my dad really liked it and he wanted many of us to do it, but the rest didn't pick it because maybe they didn't enjoy it. So I think I enjoyed it, and I think it was what I was called for. Because I find myself, every time I'm doing it, I think I have this zeal, I have this fulfillment doing it. So I think that's that about it.
So would you call yourself someone who has gone into it professionally?
Yes. Okay, before I was just doing it out of my, let me just do it because it's something I love to do. But now I think nature has made it so that I do it professionally.
Okay. Yeah. And what was it like picking it up professionally?
A bit challenging, especially this genre of music, Islamic music. A bit challenging, not even a bit challenging, but you know, we're trying to like.
What makes it challenging?
It's a whole lot, but I don't know if I can say it on air. Islam generally, Islamic music, or let me say Islam. We used to have this perception about music that maybe music is good, music is not good, making beats in music is good. So we had those arguments, which did not really make the industry grow as it should. I think it's nowadays that people are now getting to know that, okay, you can do it in a decent way, and God did not really restrict us from doing it. And now we're trying to grow, whereas we've left a lot of gaps that we've not covered. So it's really making it challenging for the people that are coming now because we have to face those gaps, we have to fill in the gaps to make us fit into the current society.
What are these gaps?
Gaps like promotion, being up to date. Permit me to say many of us are not really educated enough. Some of us, because many of us nowadays are educated. So a lot of gaps that had it been that they were in place before, we that at this age, it would be easy for us to like venture into it and give it our best.
I guess that make you veterans yourselves. So,
yes, sir.
But then that also throws up the issue of the music industry itself. Do you see a need to position your genre of music in the professional industry setting?
Thank you very much for that question. I think I see a big need for our genre of music to be in the professional industry because we do music, every other person does music. So basically, it is music. So every genre of music is supposed to be inside music. So we were lagging behind because we were at the entrance. We had not entered. So people like me and many other people that I know now are trying to like fit it into that professional body of music. Okay. So I think it should.
So then, mainstreaming it is going to be a challenge, right?
Maybe a little challenge.
How?
Streaming it.
Mainstreaming. I mean, putting your genre of music, because one of the major challenges that you probably are shy to put out there
I'm not
is
shy.
acceptability by the public, because once you hear your genre of music, oh, this is religious music.
Yes.
The Christian musicians had that challenge as well. I can tell you that for free, you know, some 20, 30 years, maybe even 40 years back. Once they hear, okay, in fact, religious music was not allowed out on radio, outside of Friday or Sunday.
Yeah.
But it would seem like the transition has begun somewhat.
In that regard, what exactly you said, I think I'm going to direct my answer to the musicians. I think we're the ones to sit up. I used to tell people that when you are a religious singer, you don't have to make everything so religious that a normal person cannot listen to your music. And that's what we've been doing. That's what we've always done. As a matter of fact, being a Zakir, for an example, if you are a Zakir, many people believe that you have to just do the Arabic. And I changed it. I began to sing some songs that I'll make it my Yoruba, pure Yoruba, that any other person, even a Christian, even an atheist can listen to it because I'm passing my message. So I think we should do more messages so that we'll be able to give it that general acceptability. So I think it's going to be a bit challenging, but we can actually correct it.
You know, okay, I'm going to give you a challenge. Okay. Because having been in broadcasting for a bit, not too long, I can say that most of the time, and maybe the transition has started, but for religious singers, most of the time, two things you will hear: prayer and singing, and praises.
Yeah.
Praising God and praying to God. Most of the time, that's what you would hear. How about songs that speak to values?
Yeah.
That speaks to ethics, that speak to human development, that speak to patriotism, if I can use that. This song, one of the most famous songs in the world, is titled "We Are the World." There is a line in that song that ascribes something to God, but they was not theologically correct. Do you see a need for that, so that maybe that will help to expand acceptability?
Yes, I see a need for that. As a matter of fact, I think the transition, people are already like making it happen, because we have a lot of Islamic artists that now have specific topics they're talking about. Not just that they want to praise God, we have a lot of them now. Like, we have people coming. I can mention a few. Raji Sautiarewa and the rest, they put out topics that they want to. And even myself, recently, I had a track I dropped recently. I called it Affirmation, and I spoke to people, and many people could like resonate with it. Many people could flow with it, and I got feedbacks that you were talking to me, you were talking. So I think we're already putting it in place, and if I have more of people like me, I think we're good to go.
Okay. How about collaboration in your own in your segment of music? Do you do it?
It's getting better.
It's like I'm hitting you a little.
It's getting better.
Okay.
It's getting better.
Getting better means it wasn't there before?
It was a bit challenging before.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe people don't want to collaborate, and maybe I feel like I'm a boss of my own. You're a boss of your own. So everybody wants to be oga. It used to be like that, but it's getting better because one thing is that one hand is not enough to make the sound of a clap. We cannot clap with one hand. So Agbajo, laughing soya, that's what Yoruba says. So if we come together, it's going to be better. But I had the opportunity to feature one renowned Islamic artist recently who did not stress me. So I think it's getting better. And I'm still working on some other ones that are not even stressing me yet. So I think it's getting better.
Okay. Now, there are certain genres of music that I don't know if you are thinking about infusing or injecting. Rap, and all those other variants, R&B, and all those things. Do you see that?
I'm an explorer.
Okay.
So I'm going to do all of that. As a matter of fact, I've started doing some of that, and I'm still going to do all of that. So it's okay for me to be insulted because some people would perceive it wrongly. So, but so far, I'm still doing it in line with what I chose to do, which is supposed to be basically a rally, which is supposed to be a rally around faith. I'm going to do it in a decent way. I've done a music that is almost like R&B. I don't care because I want to like explore different genres. I want to do new things. I want people to know that you don't have to be restricted in what you do because of some stores. Do you understand? So I think I'm going to explore that.
Perhaps, you know, there is a need to understand, maybe I should put it as a question to you. There's this general notion that adults, most people do not understand how young people perceive stuff, and they don't understand their musical taste buds. For instance, most young people don't want to do religious music all the time.
True.
And the only way you want them to, that they would want to do it is, okay, what are the things that they are listening to? Maybe we can find a way to do you think, because the challenge you would have is, okay, just as you're saying, there are faith monitors, if I can.
Yes.
You know, who will say, no, that's not the way we do it, this is the way we do it. But then you may be losing more people.
Yeah. Okay, so concerning what you said, there was a song I was going to make, I went to the studio to make, and then I'm still young, but I wanted the younger people to listen to it very well. I don't want it to be restricted to the older ages. So I told my studio engineer, Jerryson, I told him that Amapiano, people are listening to Amapiano. Please help me put Amapiano in that thing. And he did it, and people love the song. People beats in here, and if you don't want to listen to my song because of what I'm saying, you listen to because of the beat, and if you get used to my song, you later get the message I'm putting. So I think we should be able to like fit our music into all time, all seasons and all ages. I think we should.
So who are the people you need to educate about this one so that they know that
ourselves? Basically the Islamic musicians and the faith monitors. We have to let them know that. Yes, we have to let them know, because I feel that music is very sensitive, that it speaks louder than many other means of communication. So we have to like leave the restrictions and focus on the messages we want to pass, provided we are doing it in the decent way.
Okay. What else should we be expecting from Undisputed Zakir in the next 1 to 5 years?
Undisputed Zakir wants to turn around Islamic music in Nigeria. I want people to listen. I want Islamic music to be at the level of every other religious music. If I say every other, I'm talking about one major other religion. So, yes, because I mentioned that they've given us one long gap that they fought, according to what you said, like some 30 years back. So that gap, I don't know how we want to do it. I have a program I do. I call it Breath of Zikr. What gave me the inspiration was one of my backup singers that said, she cannot do without attending some sort of this thing. And it gave me that inspiration that let me to package this thing in a way that people would appreciate it. So Undisputed is coming to, so help me God, transform the Islamic music, irrespective of what anybody says. And I'm going to do it in a decent way, in my own definition.
What are the challenges you foresee?
Number one challenge is finance, but God will help us. Number two challenge is support from Islamic clerics to everybody, support from everybody. Challenges, support, and promotion. Those are the three basic challenges. If I have the finances, I can do whatever I want. I can use my money to buy whatever I want. If I have the promotion avenue, if I am able to like promote myself and put myself out there, let people reason with me that okay, Nkotipabo is good. So I think that's on that one, and the support from every other person, support from my colleagues too, basically.
In the industry?
In the industry.
Okay. Because I can see that your workplace is already supporting you. So I'm not going to speak to that one. Yeah. But, you know, talking about the promotion, there's a lot that happens on the social media platforms, or various social media platforms. And some of your songs that we've played, we've seen the handle there. How's that going?
Thanks to social media. It wasn't like this before. So basically, like, a percentage of the challenges we were having before, social media solved it for us. Because before it used to be like, we'll go, personally, I've gone to Alaba Oro to go and find one promoter that will help me, at least cut it boring me. But now, social media has brought the audience to us, so people are listening to our songs. Like, I have good streams, I have good listeners, I have fans. Before, it wasn't like that. So social media has really helped support us in that way.
Okay. So, in terms of this whole support thing, you've spoken about support from Islamic clerics and all of that. And I know that they have institutions, the various blocks, Islamic blocks that we have, the Nasfas, the Ahmadiyya, and the rest of them. What do you think they can do to support the Islamic faith music?
Starting from their lectures. Okay, so everybody have different perceptions of music. But if you, we have a couple of them that are supporting us, that I can mention, that are really supporting us. But then, when your lecture supports music in the decent way, then you've given us audience, you've given us more fans. You've not restricted your fans from listening to our music. So that's the first support they can do to us. And then, secondly, any Islamic musician around them, because we would always have them, like just like having choristers in churches, they should support them financially, maybe educationally, and they should just try to give them a push, because that little push they will give them, Islamic organizations or religious organizations, they go a long way in the little push they want to push any artist, especially in the religious distance.
And in the event that having supported, maybe the challenge that a good number of faith leaders have generally is, look, don't go errant. You know, don't go out of the support. Then at the end of the day, it's the vision. You spoke to a vision of what you're going to champion. Now, if you're going to be a little radical because that's what you're saying, you're going to be a little radical in your approach in order to get more people to be interested, then it means that you yourself have a job of work on your hands.
Yes.
To educate the
masses.
The leaders in the faith.
So help me God. It doesn't look like something that's going to be easy. But I think in the recent days, we're getting educated. Before, Islamic religion were of the, most of us were of the opinion that don't even listen to music at all. And then as time evolved, we got to the opinion that, okay, you can listen to music, but not with beats. And then with time, now you can listen to music with only some kind of drum sets. And now we are at the level of, okay, don't listen to any, most of us. Some people are still in the era of don't even listen to at all. So I think if we can come to the era of don't listen to music that are not decent, I think we'll be good.
Well, we have to thank you.
Thank you.
And the least we can do is wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Sanusi Murtala Olamilekon.
Yes, sir.
Undisputed Zakir,
yes, sir.
who is a renowned Islamic musician with a string of notable milestones and albums, a medical radiographer, musician. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, sir.
All the best.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, that's Sunrise today. Thank you for the privilege of being a part of your Saturday morning. And we know that you're enjoying your holiday. Keep at it. I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.